So, like, for me, it's clear that drugs were never meant to be recreational. In fact, they never were. I was never, hey, man, this is crazy. I was always like, I'm in fucking pain. I need some shit to help me out.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm going to probably kill myself.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, it was a way of holding that stuff at arm's length. So I guess my renewed curiosity around DMT and ayahuasca and other sort of plant medicines, and, like, you know Daniel Pinchbeck and, like, them guys that are sort of part of that. I'm curious about it because I guess I'm continually trying to find a way where someone go, right, here's a way where we can do it, where it's sort of safe. And I've heard of other people in recovery doing it. But when I think about what my motivation is when I hear people talking about and my own recollections of experiencing what felt like God, and by God I mean a sense of oneness, and that my individual identity isn't my real identity, and I'm connected to everything, and love is the most important thing. You know, I want a real experience of that, so that when I'm out in the world, I can remember when I'm driving or when I'm dealing with people, or if I'm buying something, or if I'm feeling inferior or feeling superior, that, like you said, this is bullshit. This is like a secondary reality. Don't let it govern you. You know, as someone that's been seduced by fame, a person like, oh, if I get this part in this film, then everyone's going to love me. Oh, if this stand-up set goes well, you know, like a person that's placed all of my well-being outside of myself, there's certain knowledge that there is an inner connection that will take care of you, that's accessible. I guess I'm, you know, hungry to sort of feel it in a way that's like, oh my God, now there is no doubt. So in a sense, it's a crisis of faith, not a crisis of faith.
There's some psychedelic states that you could achieve without taking anything. I mean, you could certainly get there in a flotation tank. You could get there through holotropic breathing. I've never done Kundalini yoga, but apparently the people that get really deep into Kundalini yoga can literally have DMT trips. Yes. I have friends that have done DMT and have experienced DMT trips through Kundalini. Yeah. But you have to be really dedicated. I mean, there's a lot of time. A lot of time, a lot of energy, and you have to really understand the methods and follow them to a T, and you can achieve these altered states of consciousness that are apparently, you know, not from my personal experience, but from what people tell me, incredibly profound.
Yeah, I mean, I've had comparable things. I guess that what it's, you know, the difference between feeling something that's that overwhelming that gives you no choice. Yes. You know, like there's like, it's not like, you know, Kundalini, you've got to do these breaths correctly, you've got to sit there, you've got to try again.
Have you done it?
Yeah, I've done quite a bit of Kundalini. Well, what for me, it feels like what I felt quite a lot yogically and meditatively is a cessation of what I would call my individual consciousness. Like, oh, I'm not this isn't who I am, this is just a temporary experience, and all of the value systems of our world are built upon these primal drives in collaboration with a culture that likes to stratify people and manage people and operates like a massive farm where it's easier to keep people together operating in these kind of ways systemically. I've sort of felt rushes of that, like a certain wordless clarity, if you could imagine me having anything that was wordless even for a moment, and in that space, you know, there is great peace. So I suppose what's turning me on about the DMT and ayahuasca thing is that the way it's narrativized, that you're going to meet characters and stuff like that, and it's going to be plain and beyond doubt. You know, because I suppose what prophets do, you know, like whether it, you know, when a prophet returns from whether it's the burning bush or the cave, they come back and they say, all this stuff that you're taking seriously is not real. There's this other realm. Start prioritizing it, or you are going to live in hell on earth. You're going to be governed by your materialistic drives, your sexual drives, and it's going to imprison you. And it turns out that they're right. Yeah. And so, like, you know, I suppose what I'm after, because I'm partly, you know, on a super, like on one level, influenced by what you're doing and how you've created your own, like you've created your own business and your own success, like this symbiosis of stand-up and the podcast, and like it's become like a sort of a lifestyle brand in a sense, Joe. Like, you know, I'm sort of like, yeah, I don't want to be continually dragged into these like working within institutions. Like, you know, I'm over here doing doing Ballers, and I'm bloody glad to be over here doing Ballers and working with The Rock, and I've got a funny story about that if you want it. You know, like really what interests me is like, can I dedicate my life to humorously communicating spiritual information and indeed starting to live it? So like, and I suppose what that would mean is, you know, I'm getting better. Like, I'm not a person who's obsessed with porn or sex or drugs or whatever. Like, you know, to become it, to become what you actually are, to recognize that we're all different. Your perfect realization of you is going to involve hunting and all of these things that you've created through your gift, and then my perfect version of me is going to, involve all of this. And not everyone needs to build sort of empires or entertainment industries or whatever, but all of us are on some journey to self-actualization and realization, as individual as our fingerprints and as natural as a seed turning into a tree. And if we don't have a way of accessing that, no wonder we're dissatisfied, no wonder there's an opioid epidemic, no wonder people are bored and angry and lonely. Drives, and it's going to imprison you. And it turns out that they're right. Yeah. And so, I suppose what I'm after, because I'm partly, on a super, on one level, influenced by what you're doing and how you've created your own, you've created your own business and your own success, this symbiosis of stand-up and the podcast, and it's become like a sort of a lifestyle brand in a sense, Joe. I'm sort of I don't want to be continually dragged into these working within institutions. I'm over here doing doing Ballers, and I'm bloody glad to be over here doing Ballers and working with The Rock. And I've got a funny story about that if you want it. Really, what interests me is can I dedicate my life to humorously communicating spiritual information and indeed starting to live it? So, and I suppose what that would mean is, I'm getting better, but I'm not a person who's obsessed with porn or sex or drugs or whatever, to become it, to become what you actually are, to recognise that we're all different. Your perfect realisation of you is going to involve hunting and all of these things that you've created through your gift, and then my perfect version of me is going to involve all of this. And not everyone needs to build sort of empires or entertainment industries or whatever, but all of us are on some journey to self-actualization and realization, as individual as our fingerprints and as natural as a seed turning into a tree. And if we don't have a way of accessing that, no wonder we're dissatisfied, no wonder there's an opioid epidemic, no wonder people are bored and angry and lonely.
Well, I think what you can do is be yourself. And what you can do is express yourself. And what you can do is constantly seek to improve and grow. And you are doing those things. So if you're saying, can I do these things? Can I be comedic and spiritual? And you're doing it.
Right.
So it can be done. So you're doing it. It's all just a matter of whether or not you're satisfied with your progress and where you are and who you are and how you express yourself.
So your pursuit for excellence, when you're saying I've got to get better at BJJ or archery or hunting or whatever, that isn't coupled with a sort of sense because you're not fucking good enough.
No.
So that's the deal that I've got.
There's wonderment. I love it.
Joy. That's so cool.
There's joy in it, and there's enthusiasm. In everything. And archery in particular, it's very,